Hi YouTube friends, it's Trisha here, and welcome to my little corner of the internet, where today I am going to be discussing the most recent episode of the Bachelorette Michelle Young season, Hometowns. um, yes, hometowns, but in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So their families are coming to her. I mean, that's how they've sort of been doing it during all of this COVID time, so I guess it shouldn't really come as that much of a surprise. And this episode generally was... it was an episode. It ran a little slower. As horrible as it sounds, mainly because there was really no drama. And the drama that was hinted to arrive from the previews was actually just a tender family moment that actually sort of took away from the show being The Bachelorette and about Michelle. But anyway, getting ahead of myself, we start off with, well, that's the thing. It's like, it goes Brandon, Rodney, Joe, Nate. That's how the hometowns went. And all hometowns went swimmingly great. Like, generally there's like one, maybe even two, where the parents are, more questioning the process, or there's a sibling that's just like going really hard, or anything like that. And I mean, there's maybe just a dash of it in Nate's hometown date, because I mean, both of his parents were basically like, yeah, Nate's not ready for this, but she is. Which, yay, great. But still, for them to have never really even had conversations about love and relationships, and not even in a romantic sense, like even if it appears in a familial sense, you're kind of like, okay, when his parents say that, I guess. I mean, and yeah, as I've been watching the episodes, I've kind of been feeling that a little bit about Nate, and I've mentioned that in previous videos, that something feels lacking over there, just because, sort of similar to Brandon, it sort of feels all very new for Nate. And unlike Brandon, he doesn't appear to be... I mean, as his stepdad said, I don't think he recognizes the differences between love and being in love, or how that changes into marriage, or or relationship, and then marriage, and the commitment of that. And I don't know if that's a great way to start off an engagement. And even though, I guess I'm just going into Nate's hometown because the others were just sweet, there really wasn't too much to note about them. And Nate is sort of clearly Michelle's front runner. Even though, yeah, you see her with all the guys and she has a connection with all of them, but there is something about Nate. I've talked in the past about how it feels very much like she's trying to lock him down in a relationship. And I don't know, I think that there's an indicator within her that's trying to like poke and just be like, something isn't quite there yet. And I think she sort of has blinders up right now because it's Nate. But I hope that she will sort of listen to that and recognize that later. I also wonder how things will change over the fantasy suites, because they'll have a night together without cameras, where they can just talk and grow more intimate. Like, it's not just about a physical sense of intimacy. I think it, especially for the bachelorettes, goes more in an intimate setting for the emotional connection. I actually think that her and Joe's connection might grow stronger from having a fantasy suite um, experience together. Um, but yeah, with Nate, like, his stepdad was even talking about how he just doesn't know. So he's inexperienced in that aspect of relationships, even though he's had a girlfriend before, which he'd mentioned earlier on and talked about how he didn't feel like he could just he he felt like he wasn't himself in that relationship. He wasn't like having his fun and goofy side and whatever, which also feels almost like a, I don't know, a point of interest to peak up and maybe should be taken note of. I just, I feel like he has a lot of growing to do in terms of relationships. And I mean, if you listen to how he talks about Austin and his life in Austin, he loves it over there. Is he going to consider moving to Minneapolis? I was hoping that that conversation would come up this episode, but I guess we're tabling that for fantasy suites. Like, they have to have that conversation. I mean, Michelle doesn't want to move. And I could see Brandon or Rodney literally just picking up their lives and moving to Minneapolis, no problem, for love. But, I mean, Brandon even said home is where the heart is, you know, it's about your family and the people that you love. It's not a place. Which, oh, Brandon. But anyway, so yeah, you could easily, and poor Rodney, anyway, um, you could easily see them picking up and moving, but I don't see Nate picking up and moving to Minneapolis. So, how does the future of their relationship even look? Yikes. Some standouts from the episode. I mean, Brandon is just excited as per usual. And the way he talks, I mean, him and Rodney, just the way that they were talking about Michelle to their respective parents when she wasn't around was oh so sweet and romantic. And gosh, like any girl would want a guy talking about her that way with, you know, his family. So that was just beautiful to see. And all the parents were super supportive. Again, it was, you kind of expect there to be a parent or two that's like, what are you doing? Just because it happens every season. And yeah, that just didn't happen this season. I was sad to see Rodney go, but we knew it was gonna happen. And you know, I admire that she did take the time, and like, of course she was going to do this, but she took the time to walk him out and sit him down and talk to him. And there was a part of me that was like, oh my goodness, are we going to bring up again how he feels like the underdog? Because it feels like that's like his only character arc. Not making this sound like a movie, but basically, you know, it's this the only point that they really talk about with Rodney is that she is always laughing around him, which is great. But he feels like the underdog and he's not. So I'm just like, oh my god, we don't need to drive that home. But I get what she was saying, where it's like, it's not because of anything like that. It's just, I have stronger connections in that lobby, basically. I have nothing but the best for Rodney. I hope we see him on Paradise, and I hope he finds his love because, you know, he deserves to be happy, and whoever he ends up with is going to be super happy. With Joe, it was a bit of a You know, after his one-on-one date where he actually delved deeper into his sort of like traumatic moments in his life and opened up in that sort of way, which seemingly he didn't even do with his mother, you know? Like, after seeing that, I felt like there was so much growth that happened in that episode. And you would think on a hometown date, we'd get a little bit more of just like a progression of their relationship. And instead, it sort of felt one note, I guess. I mean, it was sweet, super sweet. You know, he had his own little high school moment reenactment. Well, not reenactment because it didn't happen for either of them in high school, but she had her locker moment and he had his like sitting on the wall kiss moment. So, you know, they got to do that, which was super sweet, but I just, yeah, it didn't really go much of anywhere. And I mean, at least we got that amazing moment with his dad. I could not stop laughing, but it was the most like super sweet moment where we have these two guys that don't really communicate and they're just like, mm-hmm, yep, all right, sounds good. But there's obviously love in that and trust, and there's nothing much to say really. I don't know. I feel like I would approach things in a very similar fashion. What is there to say other than, all right, I mean, you know what you're doing, so I'm just gonna support. She seems great. Like, you guys look good together. Like, what else is there to say? So I did love that moment, and I mean, all hail Hannah because she just she took the reins, like her and the mom, but especially Hannah was like, all right, I'm gonna ask the questions that need to be asked. And also was super real with, oh, I hope this works out because we will be running into her at the grocery store. That would be weird. Ooh. um yeah, I don't really think that there's much else. Men Tell All is next week. That's gonna be interesting. I wonder if everyone will be coming back because sometimes the villains, you know, don't come back and you don't get that, do we call it closure? I don't know. It's, you want to see it addressed with them and whether they will buckle down on how they acted on the show or be like, yeah, that was dumb. That happened, and yeah, I'm not happy about how I handle that situation. You know, I don't know what's going to go down. I don't know if Jamie will be there or Chris S or Martin or what. I mean, the preview implies that they're there, but we don't know. We won't know until next week. Sorry, I'm just looking over my notes just to make sure that I had hit everything. I kind of approach this more as a, let me just start the camera and talk about what comes to mind. Yeah, I think that's about it. I actually didn't ramble that much this episode. Maybe this is just a sign showing that I'm getting more comfortable with these. I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week in the next video. I am attempting to also make videos as reviews slash commentary of things that I have watched and really enjoyed for whatever reason. And so if that might interest you, please do watch those videos. I'll be posting one soon about Stardust. And I recently posted one about Squid Game. But yeah, and with that, I'll see you next week. Okay, toodles.